Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of
8 Syndicate's hit list.
I'm Anubhav.
And I'm Achyuth.
And today, since 2025 is winding down, we thought we'd talk about our favorite scenes from the year. We've gone over a list and checked it twice. And sadly, I don't think Hindi cinema or like even Indian cinema for that matter is going to make much of a showing here. It was a poor showing for Hindi cinema, I feel, this year. For Indian cinema, rather, even Malayalam and Telugu and Tamil.
So I have watched way more Malayalam films. You watched Tamil films and all this year. It's not that we didn't get good films. There have been good films, but the topic of today's podcast episode is scenes. And like when I looked through the whole list and whichever Indian film I saw, I couldn't think of any one memorable scene that got me out, unlike the rest of the films that we are going to discuss in this episode. So, yeah, I think that's the situation.
Yeah, that is to say, our list will kind of be dominated by films from the West. Please don't accuse us of being Anglophones. We're just being we're just following like where our curiosity and objectivity leads.
And so now that we are done with all the disclaimers, let's move on to our list.
Just a warning: there will be spoilers. So yeah, watch at your own risk. So we have like 5 films each, and we realize that there's some overlap. So we'll do the films that are not on each other's lists first. First scene on this list for me is from a film called It Was Just an Accident by Jafar Panahi.
Jafar Panahi. I guess that's how you say it.
Once I meet him, I'll ask for a clarification.
Ha ha ha.
Once he gets out of the Iranian prison.
He's not in prison yet. He's abroad, but he said that he will go back after the awards.
Yeah, I think he's the sort of guy who will just go back and face prison. He's got balls. He's a very fearless director if his oeuvre is anything to go by. So Jafar Panahi is an Iranian filmmaker, and he's had a career since like the 2000s. And earlier, he used to make films that confront Iranian society, but of course, Iran has a very strict censor board that will kibosh your film on the script stage. So you have to be very careful with what you write and what you put out. He gained notoriety for making a film while on house arrest. He made a film about the film he was unable to make called This Is Not a Film, where he recorded himself in an apartment and he recorded his daily routines and he tried to depict like what his unmade film was going to be. After that, he gained a lot of fame from the West for that film. Legend has it is that it was smuggled on a pen drive in a cake.
No. Panahi himself has shot down that rumor.
Yeah, he has, but I mean, it's not true, which is why I said legend has it.
Ah.
It was there in the marketing and the lore around the film, which is why there was such a craze about the film during its festival run.
Yeah.
That it was, smuggled outside in a
Smuggled in a pen drive in a cake.
Yeah. So I had actually seen a lot of his films on UTV World Movies when it used to air. And so I was sort of familiar with him before, This Is Not a Film. But since then, his output has been steady and he's been putting out like great film after great film.
Dude, even the film he made, like pretty much after This Is Not a Film,
Yeah, Taxi, right?
every film he's made has been sort of like in secret because the government had effectively banned him from then.
No. He made Taxi in secret and he made This Is Not a Film in sort of secret.
What about No Bears?
No Bears he did not make in secret. No Bears was an approved script.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so which is to say, what makes this film interesting is that by this film, I mean, it was just an accident. What makes this interesting is that this is the first film he's made it secretly and he's made it out of the crosshairs of the Iranian censors. So this is the first film where his women characters have their hair out.
Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
in an ordinary Iranian film, which is sort of censored or like which is officiated by the government,
Approved.
yes. The women, even if they are indoors, they have to have their headscarves on, their hijab on.
Yeah, we observed this in Seed of the Sacred Fig. Even inside their homes, wala scenes, the female characters are all wearing.
No, Seed of the Sacred Fig was actually also made in defiance of the censors. So even that was made secretly. So in that, I think the women had their scarves on because they were under a patriarchal father,
Right, could be. That's why.
but the daughters, if you see in the initial scenes, they did not have it on.
Yes, agreed, agreed.
Yeah, so that was the case. So it was just an accident. It's about a mechanic kind of guy. But basically, he's got a shop somewhere and a car has broken down and it approaches his shop for repairs or just to have some shelter while someone goes and brings them oil. While this is going on, the driver of the car walks out and he's got a prosthetic leg, so it squeaks.
Mm.
So our protagonist, he recognizes that squeak as the squeak of his torturer when he was incarcerated in prison for his perceived political activities. Once the car is repaired, he follows this man. He scopes out where he lives. He waits overnight in a nearby spot near his house. When dawn breaks, he follows the guy to wherever he's going for work. And at a certain point, he decides to stun him and kidnap him. And after he's kidnapped him, he goes to one of his fellow political prisoners and is like, I think I might have captured my torturer, but I'm not sure he is who I think he is. So can you help me? Can you come and look and find out for sure? This guy denies because he doesn't like this guy doesn't want anything to do with it, but he says, why don't you go to this photographer friend of mine and she might be able to help you with this. Basically what happens is they go and the rest of the film is this guy trapped in the car and sort of passed out or whatever, and they're in like a van. The rest of the film is him collecting a few people who have been tortured by the guy, by who they think he is. These guys are trying to figure out whether it's actually him or not. Of course there's more, but I'll let you discover in the film. But the scene which is very striking to me is Panahi is very restrained as a filmmaker. If you've seen his films, he's not very showy. There is power in his stillness. This is like very near the end of the film, so heavy spoiler alert. Skip ahead a few minutes if you want to avoid it. What happens is, so all the other people who are in the van are have gone their own way because they want nothing to do with it, and they're sort of, because of events in the film, they're sort of not like interested in it anymore. The protagonist and the photographer, they have the man tied up to a tree. There is the red light of the car. The car's tail lights are shining on the scene, so it's like a giallo scene in that it's fully red and garish and red.
I can imagine.
They start interrogating that guy whether he is actually the torturer or not, because his name is different on his documents and the name of the torturer was something else. So the protagonist interrogates him, and finally he reveals that yes, he is that guy, and he justifies why he did what he did. And that's when the photographer, who was quiet all this while, jumps in and starts, beating him up. Since we have spent so much time with the characters, we know that they are at least the not the protagonist, but the photographer and her friend who joins her on for the ride. They are different varieties of broken. So the photographer has been the sanest of them all. She didn't jump to like assaulting him or just getting her trauma out. This is where she finally lets her trauma out and sort of pummels him because they've taken years of her and she was subjected to the danger of sexual torture. She lets him have it. And the whole thing is just done in a single shot where we are on the torturer's face.
It's a 10-minute long one take.
It's actually longer. It's like a good 20-minute long one take, actually.
Wow, okay.
And it's literally just this guy just tied to the tree, and his interviewers are mostly off screen because they're standing up and this guy is tied down. It's like a reversion, also, if you've seen, like, he has become the tortured now. The tables have turned. He is being interrogated by faceless people about his role. It's a cathartic scene for,
Yeah, it is literally a turning of the tables.
yeah, it is a cathartic scene for everyone involved because they just get to pour out their inner selves and their trauma, and he also gets to exult why.
Mea culpa, in a way.
No, it's not a mea culpa because he is not regretful about it. He just justifies why he did all that he did.
I see, I
Yeah,
see.
so that's what sort of sets them off. Every side is just letting out their, airing out their, like trauma and their worldview.
Hmm.
It's a great scene, and the ending of the film is, it's an ending you can read in multiple ways. After like sort of holding him hostage and sort of getting their catharsis, they let him go. Now,
Hmm.
the only person whose contact that the guy would have is our protagonist because of events in the film. And in the final shot,
Hmm.
he is sort of put this incident kind of behind him, but he's helping his family with something, and then he's about to go up the stairs, and the camera is focused on his back. He starts hearing the squeak, squeak, squeak of the man's prosthetic.
Oh, oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
Now, why is the man coming? That's the bizarre part because
Yeah.
earlier in the film, these guys actually helped out his daughter. So they did like something good for him.
Hmm.
Now, is he coming to fuck with this guy or to thank him? It's a chilling ending, nevertheless.
For some reason, maybe since it's to do with the leg, the squeak, squeak sound, it just immediately reminded me of Ons on D.
Yeah, yeah, it reminded me of Onsondi as well, a little bit. So, anyways, that was my fifth favorite scene of the year from It Was Just an Accident by Jafar Panay.
Okay, so the one film that I have got, which we did not have in common, and that I picked for today, Nickel Boys. Surprise, surprise. It still is film number one of the year for me.
Yeah, yeah, spoiler alert, film of the year.
Yeah. And I mean, it's insane how we saw Nickel Boys almost at the start of the year, and still nothing has stopped it.
Because it was an American 2024 release and then it didn't get any play in the awards or anything. So it released quite unceremoniously here. I mean, it's absurd that Nickel Boys didn't get the vindication that it deserved.
Yeah, and more than that, what I'm trying to say is that since then also we've seen so many films and some pretty great films at that, but they actually didn't come to Nickel Boys level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nickel Boys, to be honest, is like one of those generational films, I feel.
It's revelatory. It's the kind of thing that does to the medium what very few films do. So, Nickel Boys is about this boy. This is set in, the mid 1900s America, where racism and all is still there. The Jim Crow laws are gone. Like officially, there's no more segregation, but unofficially, well, there is. The protagonist is this black boy who is pretty smart. He's trying to go to college and trying to escape a life of poverty that most young black men do. But due to certain circumstances, he's pulled over by cops and sent to a juvenile home. And him being a black kid, he's put in the black wing of the juvenile home. And all the boys in there, well, they are referred to as nickel boys.
It's Nickel Academy, right?
Yes, it's Nickel Academy. The film follows the protagonist's journey there, deprocessing this whole incarceration, what it will do to his future, to his life, how everything seems hopeless, the new bonds he forms. But the absolute magic of this film, I mean, we've seen countless films that talk about oppression, that talk about friendship, that talk about soul and life and all of that. But the thing that sets this one apart is the way it uses the camera as a medium. It films the whole film in first person mode. So what you're seeing is literally some character's POV. I don't know, man. It opened a window between my soul and cinema directly. Cinema has spoken more directly to me in this than it ever did.
I read a sentence in a critique of this by some writer, I forget. But basically, he was like, it's not really POV, but it's from the perspective of memory. Like it's how someone remembers those scenes rather than how someone sees it.
Correct, because some scenes there are slight differences when they're shown again from the other POV.
It's an effective and affecting piece of cinematography, and it's ridiculous that fucking Anora won awards over this. Not a bad film, but
Mediocre, Morsov.
it's like Logan Paul losing to prime Mike Tyson.
Uh, yeah, pretty much sums it up. Okay, but that's a little about Nickel Boys, and I'll just quickly talk about the scene in question. The protagonist's grandmother, she's the one who's been taking care of him and everything, is
Yeah, she's a guardian pretty much.
she's his guardian pretty much because his mom is AWOL all the time. His grandmother comes to the prison to Nickel Academy to see him, and she's trying to find him, but she meets his friend instead and asks him where is her grandson and everything, and then she still stays and smiles and talks to this new stranger kid that she's met because I guess to her every child is similar to her grandson. And then she just widely smiles and extends her hand and comes in for a hug. And this shot is from the POV of the friend. So she's literally unfurling her arms and coming into the camera for the hug. And I swear, I felt the warmth of that hug in that scene. I felt like a loving, kind woman was hugging me. For that reason, that one scene has stayed back with me ever since I watched the film. Like instantly, when I thought of Nickel Boys, this is the one scene that came to my mind quickly and like almost without hesitation.
Why this scene works so well is that the hug is like she gives him love even when he has not really earned it.
Hmm.
Anjanew Ellis Taylor is the person who plays Hattie, the grandmother.
Hmm.
Amazing performance. Like criminally underlooked performance. Warm and sad and just amazing presence.
Warm, sad, resilient. Like there's this one bit where she's crying at home right after they find out that he's going to be sentenced to Nickel Academy, and she's just quietly crying while the radio is playing. Insane performance. It is criminal that this film was overlooked on so many counts from so many different people.
The only Academy Awards it was nominated for. Firstly, Best Picture has 10 nominees, so it's among the 10 best, but fine. So it was nominated for Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay, and that's it.
The fact that they did not even nominate it for cinematography is,
It's criminal. I'll just go down what was nominated for cinematography that year.
I mean, I have to point this out, okay? It's like we all have smartphones, we all keep filming footages that are basically from our POV since we are holding the camera and filming it. But nothing feels as enveloping or as if we are literally viewing from somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
You know, that achievement is something that a very genius cinematographer has to pull off.
Do you think this film's chances were hurt by its POV sort of nature?
No. I think the only reason this film was overlooked was because Amazon didn't give a fuck about lobbying it.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it was Amazon MGM Studios.
Yeah, I mean, it was nowhere in the pre-awards conversations and roundtables, and then suddenly it dropped, and we were like, okay, what is this going to be? Let's just check it
Yeah,
out, and
even we
then
were
bam.
not. I remember like when you started playing it, I was like, okay. And I was working and you were playing it. And I was like, dude, stop this. Let me get off work because my eyes are just going there.
Yeah,
It's an astounding film. I mean, one of the best films of I think quite some time. I think we were after the film we were talking about films from 2000 like till about 10 years, and was this film better
yeah.
than any of those? And we kind of came up with okay, like we just went till 2015 and concluded it. None of the films in the intervening years have been as good as this, and I don't think that's gonna change.
Well, at least not this year.
So I think it's one of those special films that will be remembered for years to come.
So that was Nickel Boys.
Now we move into the scenes that are common amongst the both of us. Okay, so next up is a scene from The Brutalist, which was a 2024 release in America, but it reached our shores in 2025, as was Nickel Boys. But yeah,
So, The Brutalist is this historical fiction, I would even call it an epic in a way film, about an architect who escaped Nazi Germany concentration camps and came to the shores of America to find a better future. And then he meets a wealthy industrialist, and the industrialist wants to use this great architect to build a huge passion project of his, so that he will be remembered, and for the architect, well, it will be another great creation. And so the story follows this architect's journey, immigrant architect's journey in America.
immigrant Jewish architect.
Yeah, Jewish is very important since this is around the Second World War. And also, it's about his wife who is still stuck there, who is unable to join him immediately, but then she eventually does. And then how she sees all that's been happening and how she's there for him. It's a tale of epic proportions, but on a personal level. It's not like big wars and all of that, but it's epic on a personal level because of the grand scale of ambition and hopes that the characters have.
It's an epic on like a character level. The character's odyssey is the epic, like his highs and lows. And what's his name? Laszlo Kovacs, right? In the film.
Yeah, Laszlo Toth.
So basically, it's about how he used to be a great architect when he was in his home country, and then that was obviously he was a victim of the war. He escaped going into any of the concentration camps, and he came to America, escaping the war. And there he becomes like first he's like a furniture worker, and then he is fired from that job on basically on the account of him being an immigrant. Then he starts working in weird dirt kind of like a he was just shoveling rocks and stuff, man. Basically a very lowly job for someone who was earlier so wanted. That's when he is visited by someone he had done some work for, who did not know who he was and did not appreciate his style, the style being brutalism. Then this guy sort of commissions him to build a new structure that is in memory of his mother. It's like a church, a community center, and like it's an epic kind of construction. And events in the film happen, like, construction gets delayed, and they don't part on good terms. Him and his benefactor, his patron. So him and his patron reunite sometime later, and they go to Italy to the marble quarry to select the correct marble. This is when the epicness of the film really crystallizes into vision.
It almost, in a way, feels like a dream sequence, the whole marble.
Yeah, it's very surreal because the entire film has been sort of this. It's very tightly shot, close ups and all that. Then suddenly it just lets up, and it's on an epic scale, and we see this insane marble quarry structure, which is beautiful in white. This sequence has little bearing on the plot, to be honest. If you remove this sequence, you wouldn't miss it. It's a scene where it feels like basically they're sort of worshipping the mines, like they're worshipping the material itself. There is one shot where the guy who sort of, I don't know if he owns the marble quarry, but he is like the liaison. He pours water over the marble to sort of get rid of the dust. And you can see the marble goes from being sort of whitish to this beautiful structure with a lot of depth. And that takes over the entire screen. And we saw it in IMAX, and it was just beautiful. Like these are the sort of, I mean, yeah, you've got your action movies and like spectacle movies, but at that moment, there was nothing more spectacular than seeing this marble quarry in IMAX.
Agreed.
It's like this weird hallucinatory aside. Like it's also a reprieve from the breakneck speed of the rest of the film. On a structural level, I feel like you need a reprieve at that point.
Mhm.
It delivers this sort of moment of pause for the entire film, and it arrests you because of its dreamy nature and how gigantic everything feels. And I think even the soundtrack is sort of mellowed down at that point. It's not much.
Hmm.
So you're just invited to take in the majesty of the entire sequence.
Yeah. And even right before that, I mean, when they reach that Italian village with the mine, they're not in the mine immediately. They're sitting outside
Yeah, they're like at a cafe kind of thing.
and they meet this one-armed miner friend of Laszlo's.
Yeah.
They just meet there, and that itself sort of sets the tone of what's to come in a way. It's almost like they're preparing us for this departure.
Yeah, it's sort of a transition period in the film because the dynamics between Laszlo and his patron really, I mean, what was subtext in the rest of the film becomes text.
Since we are on the topic of The Brutalist, let me just mention the opening of the film because
It is a very striking opening, actually.
it is a striking, impactful, and resounding opening where there's so much chaos happening because we are in the boat with Laszlo and it's just made it to America. So everyone is rushing to get out and get a glimpse of the new promised land. And over a voiceover, we are hearing Laszlo's wife's letter to him, and the score, the main motif is building up that
Hmm.
with full horns, and Laszlo finally gets out and the camera is all shaky, and then finally it settles on this tilted upside down almost shot of the Statue of Liberty.
Liberty inverted.
Yeah, and the score crescendos right then. I'm like, wow, wow, what an overture. This is what an overture should be. That opening, all of it together in that one take is very special scene for me after the marble scene. So I just wanted to quickly sneak that in.
Yeah, it's a great fucking scene. Like I was astounded by it. I mean, I was really struck by. I mean, Brutalist is one of the great films of this year, and
Agreed.
of the award season, definitely like a bigger standout than Anora. Yes.
It's just unfortunate that Anora had to go up against these films and win because on its own, it's still a pretty decent film. But then it won all these awards, and now we all fucking hate it. Like Sean Baker himself has made pretty much every other film of his better than Anora.
Yeah, yeah, Florida Project is a much better film actually. So that was The Brutalist, another great film from 2025. Brady Corbett is going to surprise us even more in the years to come.
So far we have covered Nickel Boys, It Was Just an Accident, and now The Brutalist. So that's three down.
Next up on our list is a film that we both loved. It's 28 Years Later by Danny Boyle.
Coincidentally, I rewatched this film just a few days ago. So it's all fresh in my memory.
Does it still hold up? I watched it twice in theaters and it worked gangbusters both times.
Yeah, I watched it twice in theaters too, back to back. I watched it the first day, then the next day I watched it with you, and then I watched it after I got my hands on it, and this time I watched it the fourth time. So yeah, it more than definitely holds up.
The first time I watched it with my brother. I mean, I was really surprised by it, but my brother was like, "This is one of the great." He hasn't seen 28 Days Later.
Mm.
He went in with like sort of subdued expectations, and he was astounded by this film. He was like, "This is one of the best films I've seen."
Dude, even I was astounded by it to be honest because I wasn't expecting that.
So, just a quick premise 28 years later is set in the universe of 28 days later, where a sort of a zombie virus has infected all of UK and it's ravaged the UK for like 28 years. And the rest of the world has cut off the UK since it's an island from the rest of civilization. The film is about Spike, who is like this child from this uninfected village who is taken on a hunting trip to the mainland by his father.
As a sort of rite of passage.
Yeah. He has a mother who is sick, but since there are no doctors, there is nothing to diagnose her. And what struck me about this film is that you go in, since it's a 28, film from Danny Boyle, that too, and Alex Garland is returning as the writer. You expect it to be a zombie film, but it's like the world is just a setting for the real film to take place in, which is a coming of age film. Like Spike goes out with his father and learns something about himself and his father. And then Spike goes out with his mother and learns something about himself and like about the more compassionate side of living in this universe, living in the world of 28 years later. And it's two distinct halves, but it's a coming of age story for Spike. And the zombies are just, I mean, they exist in his world. They're not the main threat. And this is a film that really doesn't have any villains, which is surprising.
Because at the end of the film is when we actually meet the villain.
So where we're introduced to the villain of part two, but he's not really the villain of this film.
It's mainly a coming of age film, and like you said, and this is what I really like. This is what I want further storytellers to remember, that just because a film is set in, say, a zombie apocalypse, well, that's not all there is. I mean, in a world where that has happened, life has continued to exist afterwards. So there'll be many other things that happen, that you feel, that you do, and it's all just in the background of these zombies. And that's something that 28 years later really took to heart by making a full blown coming of age film that's just set in this zombie universe.
And honestly, for my money, it's. I mean, Last of Us is kind of similar in that it's also a coming of age story set in a zombie world. I feel like this one has a more compassionate and more human worldview than
Absolutely.
yeah, than Last of Us.
Absolutely.
Last of Us feels fake compared to the sincerity and honesty of this film.
No, I'll tell you what, Last of Us just feels like someone who could have just seen or read The Road and then Children of Men and one, two other films, and then they decided to do a mishmash of different aspects from them all, like Bhel Puri. There's nothing concretely original about it. But 28 years later, oh man, its beating heart is as original as can get. Okay, so the scene in question, and we are veering into spoiler territory here.
Heavy spoilers.
Um Very heavy spoiler territory, because the scene is pretty much the final scene of the film in terms of the story's arc.
It's the climax.
Spike is now taking his mother to the mainland to find Dr. Kelson, played by Ray Fiennes. Spike eventually gets there, and Dr. Kelson checks Spike's mother and eventually tells them both that she's got cancer, and either it started in the brain and spread to the body, or the body to the brain, but point being, it has metastasized and she doesn't have long. Spike is now breaking down. You know, he's a child. He has gone through hell and whatever else you can think of just to get his mother all the way here to the mainland to Dr. Kelson. And now that he has gotten here, he's got to face the truth that she's gonna die. He's still a child, and his mother's gonna die, and he's lost his father also, because his father lied to him, and there were some other things as well which makes him feel very disconnected from his father, from his village and home and everything, that his mother was the last thing that he had.
Yeah, that's why he wanted to like rescue his mother.
That's why he wanted to save her in the first place. And so then the shock is hitting him, and he's in denial, and the mother hugs him, and she just visually gestures to the doctor her assent, and he sedates Spike. You know, not knocks him out, but rather makes him like just immobile.
Basically puts him on some drugs.
Yeah. He even says morphine and Xyloxone or something. He says, I forgot that cocktail. Xylazine, yeah. Morphine and xylazine. So now that Spike is calmed down, Dr. Kelson tells him, do you remember the word I told you earlier? Memento Mori. And Spike is like, yeah, it means remember we must die. And then there is something else too. Memento Amoris. Remember we must love. And Dr. Kelson then gently, kindly, with so much love and patience, explains to Spike that there are many different kinds of death, but a death like this, where you're going with all the love of those who love you, is better than some of the other ways to go.
Like a painful death.
Yes, and that there are basically two truths in life. One, we must die, and two, therefore, we must still love. Then Dr. Kelson takes Spike's mother away and drugs her as well. And then we later see her skull being returned to Spike.
No, in this sequence, while this is happening, Spike is sitting looking at a bonfire,
Mm.
and like around him,
And he's holding the baby as well.
yeah, he's holding the baby of an infected, which is like insane. Then basically there are firelights that start around him. Now, firelights have like in the UK they have this sort of mythic resonance,
Mm.
like they're supposed to be basically like otherworldly spirits and all that. So while his mother is being, like whatever Dr. Kelson is doing, it sounds so fucked up, this whole entire thing, and it kind of gets more fucked up later, but that's the mark of a good writer, that you can turn something that is so fucked up into this beautiful ritual.
Yeah.
And we must mention the score because the score does like a lot of work here.
The score does 50% of the heavy lifting. Remember is the name of the track, and it has made my 2025 top played songs playlist.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I've listened to it so many times.
It's a beautiful track by Young Fathers.
Yeah. So, and then finally, Dr. Kelson euthanizes the mother and extracts her skull from her body and, cleans it and everything, gives it to Spike and tells him to find the most special place for it. And so Spike takes the skull, climbs all the way to the top of the bone temple, and places it at the very top so that, and then he does one more thing. He turns it around so that it's facing the sun.
This is the part that really got me. Like it was full Niagara Falls.
Yeah. It got me this time too. This sequence will get me each time I watch it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
I
sequence.
can't imagine dealing with that kind of grief, man. I can't.
The thing is, horror and beauty coexist in this sequence, like because you've got the bone temple, but it's been transformed. Like earlier, it was sold as like this sort of foreboding thing,
Mm.
but now it's been transformed into something, a thing of beauty.
An actual temple.
Yeah, like a thing of beauty in a fucked up world.
Yeah, and I think it also tells one thing that in a world that has already gone to the dogs, even the sanest of things might look crazy.
Yeah, that it is his response to the world, and like it helps him cope,
Yeah,
and it also helps Spike cope actually with this loss.
yeah. Oh man, my chest feels a bit heavy right now after thinking of all of that in the movie. Shit. That was one heavy scene.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene. Like not something I expected when they announced more 28 years later movies were coming.
I am a huge fan of the franchise and I was not prepared for this. I did not expect this.
It's like you go in expecting like a zombie movie, and then it's like surprise, there are zombies, but it's not a zombie movie at all. And yeah, the sequel looks amazing and it's already gotten great reviews. And
And they've also greenlit the third film.
yeah,
Like even before this one has released. They're so happy with it. That makes me also glad. And I hope this acts as a good resurgence for Nia DaCosta.
yeah, she's had a couple of rough movies.
Okay, so that was 28 years later.
The next film on our list is, I think, the latest entry, Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. The scene, which is sort of like, which I've dubbed, and I think some other people have also dubbed it as the River of Roads scene. So One Battle After Another is Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film, and it's about a former sort of revolutionary who lives a quiet life of sort of alcoholism and cigarettes and like alcoholism and weed in some part of America. Like it's called Backtan Cross, but it's a fictional city. But it's basically like a liberal city where he's found refuge, and he's raising a daughter that he had with a fellow revolutionary called Perfidia Beverly Hills. Now, Perfidia had been captured by the government, and she betrayed the revolutionary group and disappeared. He's raising this kid called Villa with a lot of paranoia and, like, I wouldn't say control, but just a lot of paranoia, and there's a level of disconnect that he has. Now they're living with fake names, and but they have still been on the track of the federal government. The film story really starts when the military, led by Stephen Lockjaw, descends on their city, and Villa is at her school when this operation happens, and she is met by another former revolutionary who helps her like hide out in some place. Meanwhile, Bob Ferguson, who's the father, who's played by Leo, he sort of gets another message to sort of escape. He has this whole journey to sort of reunite with his daughter ultimately. One Battle After Another has this amazing climax. Heavy spoilers. It's like a three-car chase set on this insane hilly road. The way it's shot, like cameras that are mounted on the front of the car, and like a lot of telephoto camera work, the way it's shot, it actually feels like a boat chase. The road is ebbing and flowing, and what is revealed when the car sort of travels down and when it travels up, it's like a pretty much a boat chase, and the soundtrack is amazing, and you are tense, and on the IMAX there is nothing like it's like nothing we've seen before, and it's dizzying. It's something you have to see to believe, to be honest. Like, I don't know how we can describe the feeling of watching this thing play out. It exploits the location that they found. That's a major.
Firstly, they found such a location. Then they decide to stage the car chase here. Then they decide to shoot it all with telephoto lenses so that you really feel the ebb and flow of the road. It's like I saw it in IMAX and I swear I felt like I was gonna. It felt like a roller coaster and I was gonna go down and then up. Oh, it was insane. And I also have to highlight how at the beginning of the chase infinity, she gets into the car and the camera is mounted on the door and she doesn't shut the door. She just starts driving and the door slams shut with the camera. Like, damn, yeah. And then Johnny Greenwood's score starts.
We haven't seen any of the doors shut until that door shutting, to be honest.
No, they shut, Ray. It's just we never see any character close the door themselves.
Yeah,
The car doors always end up getting closed during driving or
yeah,
something.
during driving. But it's never underscored until this one.
Yeah, it's never so clearly shown until this one, but it's a recurring theme. While we're on the topic of one battle after another, I just want to highlight my one side favorite scene, which is after the lengthy prologue that sets up Leo DiCaprio's character and his daughter and their past as revolutionaries and everything. The film then cuts to the present with the daughter now having grown up into this teenage girl, and she is in a karate class holding her position with laser focus, and we are on a medium close up of Chase Infinity now for the first time.
It is prudent to mention the edit because up until now, the first 20 or so minutes of the film is this like fast moving sort of.
Plot after plot after plot after plot.
It feels like a recap. It's just like kinetic, moving. Like we are following these revolutionaries, and it's like breathless, and a lot of things are happening, and it's relentless.
Yeah, it's like we are introduced to the revolutionaries, then we are introduced to the love between Leo and
Perfidia Beverly Hills. Yeah, no, the film builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and ratchets. The tension keeps ratcheting up, and then boom, it goes all quiet, and the only thing on the screen is Chase Infinity's face.
Beautiful, beautiful face. And you know that, okay, this is hope.
She's Luke Skywalker basically, and then
Yeah.
and then you have Steely Dan's "Dirty Work" come in.
I'm a fool to do your
Dirty
dirty
work.
work. Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And you know, while watching that scene and when Dirty Work started playing, I had another reason to really grin year to year. And that's because many, many, many years ago, I became really hooked to this show called The Sopranos. And there's this really iconic scene in which Tony Soprano, played by the late, great James Gandolfini. He's just driving and the song is playing in the car radio and he's singing along badly to it in his thick Italian American New York accent. And since then, the song has been a very, very, very special thing to me. And I always remember that scene whenever the song plays anywhere in the wild.
So the first time I saw the scene, I mean, yeah, it's quite striking. But on subsequent watches,
Mm,
I have literally teared up when Chase Infinity's face appears.
mm.
Full tears because
Yeah,
I know,
because now we know what she represents, who she is,
yeah, who she is.
the importance of her as a human being existing in today's world is so important. I think that's why this scene is all the more special to me now. I think in retrospect, because I have seen the whole film and I've rewatched it, and so the power of this scene is like pretty palpable for me.
I'm just waiting for the Blu-ray now. I think the way Leo watches Battle of Algiers, it will be me watching this film.
Yes.
So the best scene of the year, 2025, and some of you might have guessed it because how could it not be this? It's from Ryan Coogler's.
Especially since we have not mentioned it till now.
It's from Ryan Coogler's Sinners. It's the scene that we sort of call, which has the song I Lied to You. It's, I think, one of the greatest scenes of cinema. It's one of the greatest pieces of art ever made. If you just take that scene in its entirety, it's a magnificent scene, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I was watching it.
Mm-hmm.
To recap a little bit about Sinners, it's about Sammy, who is a young musician, and we see him come back in a car, and he's all worn out, and he's hurt, his face is scratched, and he's holding like a broken guitar. And he comes to his father's church. His father is a priest. So his father sort of tells everyone that, look, my son has come back. He has decided to leave behind a world of sin and join me in Christ. While his father is sort of coming towards him, he flashes back to a traumatic memory of the night he just had. And we see in flashes, like three flashes, whatever he experienced like the night before. And then we go back one day earlier. We see him, he's a worker on a plantation. Like, this is set after slavery. Like, I think it's set around like 1940s or something, right?
Yeah, it is set after slavery, but segregation is
Yeah, segregation is still there, and these black workers are still working on plantations and all that.
sharecropping is still how most of it works.
Yeah, and they pretty much work on company script. So basically, the company controls where you spend your money. And so he wakes up, we see life around this plantation and all that. And then we see the other main players of the film, which are these twin gangster brothers called Smoke and Stack, both played amazingly well by Michael B. Jordan. They buy sort of a barn like thing, like an empty structure, and they decide to convert it to a juke joint. We follow them as they gather, supplies for it, and they go around making sure that the juke joint can open that night. They want Sammy to play at the juke joint because he's amazing with his guitar and he's got an amazing voice. Like, this could be a great scene also where one of the twins, I think it was Stack sort of discovers that is in a car with Sammy, and he says, "Why don't you play some music?" And Sammy starts playing, he starts playing his guitar,
Sammy goes, traveling, don't know where.
and then he starts singing, and he's the real deal. Usually in movies, the singing is kind of underwhelming because they get actors who are not really singers. But this guy has an amazing voice, and Stack is astounded. Like he gives a very elated woohoo. You are woohooing with him because he's
Yeah.
fucking amazing. This kid, Miles Caton, he's amazing, and as Sammy, and he's very endearing. Like he's a young man who's enormously talented, so you're rooting for him. And anyways, they gather everything and they set up the juke joint, and then they're having a great time at the juke joint. Meanwhile, in some ways off, we open on a house in the middle of nowhere, sort of like the Courage the Cowardly Dog house. Someone just jumps in from out of frame and he's sort of smoking. And he goes to this house. This man is like, I'm being hunted and I need shelter. And he sort of looks into their room and he sees that they have KKK outfits ready. Then he goes in, and sometime later, a bunch of Native American hunters comes to their house, and these guys, being racist, just shoo them off. But the hunters are like, just be careful and whatever. Now inside, the wife who had opened the door to the Native Americans, she goes back inside and she's looking for her husband and she can't find her husband. Then she notices in a separate room that her husband is lying dead on the ground, and the man they invited in is sort of seated and his mouth is all bloody. And then the husband starts getting up and she screams. The main vampire, who is Remick, just tells her to quiet down. And then we cut to night falling on the juke joint. And they're partying inside the juke joint. People are buying food, people are buying drinks. And somewhere and sometime later in the film, they finally decide to decide to let Sammy play. So Sammy's encouraged to play. He's sort of set up by one of the pianist of the juke joint. It's basically Sammy's first performance, is what you understand from it, because he doesn't know how to introduce himself and all that. So he introduces himself that he's from this and this plantation, and this is my song. And he says that he wrote it for his father, and it starts slowly. It's a nice song. I lied to you and all that. Then, the song is going, people are vibing. It's a good song. You can shift your feet to it. And then we cut to a scene where Sammy is being told some words by the pianist. What was his name again? Delroy Lindo, who plays the pianist.
Delta Slim.
So basically, Delta Slim is an older gentleman and someone very cynical, and he is also a musician. And he tells Sammy that the music that we play, the blues music, that's something that the black people sort of brought and evolved as a culture. It wasn't like religion that was foisted on them. So it's sacred, it's real. And then he said, it's big. And the sound design goes crazy when he says that. Like,
Yeah, it almost booms and echoes.
it's like a wave, it's sort of like that. Like when he says big, it's like a wave. And then we return to Sammy playing the music. And then we hear in voiceover Wunmi Musako's character, who is a hoodoo practitioner. Her voiceover says that there are some people who have the ability, that are born with this gift, that through their art, they can summon spirits of the past and spirits of the future. And once she says spirits of the future, you see a guy dressed in futuristic clothes, very incongruous in this 1940s, barn. He starts playing his electric guitar.
Oh, but even before you see him, the moment she says future, you hear the first notes of an electric guitar in the music itself.
Like a
Until
wow.
then, you don't hear it.
Yeah.
When she says future, he goes, "Dun, no, no, no." And then we slowly see this blingy bandana black dude with a Gibson Flying V in his hand.
And then the floodgates just open. It's so beautiful. It's past and future and present intermingling. it's a celebration of black culture. Definitely it is. What is culture but a catalog of history? So this is like history consolidated and concentrated in this one barn. You see, right after the futuristic guitarist, you see like a DJ. He sort of shouts out new shit from Preacher Boy, new shit, Preacher Boy, stuff like that. But then,
Yeah, yeah.
and then sort of the camera travels over Delta Slim playing his keyboard. And then you go to a guy, like an African tribal guy, playing drums, and it's to the beat with everything. And he's also shouting out. He's connecting this guy with the DJ, you know? That's the thing. It's like a conversation between the past and the future, and what the past has given to the future, and how it has given to the future. And then it just continues, and it's a one take sequence, by the way. So all this complicated stuff, this complicated staging is happening in one take, which is fucking crazy. Then there are some people who are, like some black women who are dancing, and among them are, like contemporary 21st century black women who are twerking. It makes sense because you can see that they basically feel like sisters. The black woman in the 1940s who is dancing along to the song feels like a sister to the twerking woman. Everything is connected, and then break dancing is connected with like African tribal dancers. And once you get to the two Chinese people in the barn, you have Chinese dancers who come in and intermingle. You have an African dancer who's using his feet, and there is like a guy who's sort of doing a crip walk kind of thing. And it's like it keeps on creating resonance between the past and the future. And yeah, and then all this stuff is happening, and like the camera sort of lifts up, and you see the barn is burning down.
Just at this moment, as the barn is about to burn down, this is when Sammy is like crescendoing on the song, and he's going, somebody take me in your
Oh,
arms.
nice.
And he goes all the way up, and then the music, they suddenly use a bit of auto tune to artificially pitch it up further and hold it.
Yeah.
And then it comes back down, and the camera slowly goes back down. Actually, this is where Delta Slim comes in and says that, all this religion and stuff they've given us, but blues music, we bring it from home, we carry it with us.
So about this Delta Slim stuff, apparently there was a scene, like the scene where he also tells him that this, our music is big and all that. There was like an extended scene where before he started singing this, there was a scene where Delta Slim sat him down and sort of talked with him a little bit. But here, I guess what they've done is they've used it in between the music and at the end of the music.
They've interspersed it with the song.
Yeah, which is actually smart because it's so much more effective. It's so much more poetic and effective that way.
Yeah. And same way, there was another scene of Delta Slim just singing and playing. Sammy and his, well, paramour watching from a distance, which was also a great scene. I mean, this is one film that I know I'm dying for an extended cut, even if the theatrical cut might be better.
Like, it is one film where even the deleted scenes are like great fucking scenes. Like, whatever few deleted scenes that we've seen.
So basically, yeah, this I lied to you thing, especially in the theater, like when the barn starts to burn and the loudness of the song also goes up at this point, like in the mix. And in an IMAX speaker system, that shit is everything. And that's when, like, my God, what a crescendo. You feel that. And then the song quietens down, the pace reduces. And then we see the vampires observe the burning barn and the dancing past, present, future.
And then the vampires arrive because they want some of that. So Sinners is, I feel like, it is a film that has nothing but great scenes. I mean, it's not the greatest movie we've seen this year. That honor belongs to Nickel Boys. But on a scene level, there are like no. I mean, far be it for there to be bad scenes, but even the worst scene is like would be the great scene in a good film. It's that good. And we can harp on endlessly about Sinners. I'm waiting for my 4K Blu-ray to arrive. It'll be a worn out disc by the time I get done with it. So yeah, I guess that concludes our list.
So here's one bonus scene that I would like to just add because I think it deserves a place here in our list. That scene is from the film called Santosh by Sandhya Suri. I don't want to get too much into the details, but the film follows a cop named Santosh, and as she investigates this brutal rape and murder of a Dalit girl. So the scene in particular is when she has potentially identified the subject and they have arrested him. He is now in custody, and you can hear the preliminary sounds of the interrogation, questions being asked, slaps, and then more slaps, more whimpering. But in through all of this, the camera stays fixated on Shahana Goswami's face. Shahana Goswami is the character, is the actor who plays Santosh, and her eyes have this very Smita Patil like quality to it. They're piercing. And so when we hear all the sounds of what's happening, but we see her react to it, we are reacting to it along with her. So the camera, by focusing on her face during such a pivotal moment, it just, I don't know, it felt very powerful to me that the camera is being used in such an inquiring way, or like it invites you into the whole dialogue. Very few scenes in Indian films this year did that for me, and this is one of them. And so this deserves an honorable mention in our list.
I guess that concludes our list. Just to reiterate, it was just an accident, which was my selection, and Achyuth's selection was Nickel Boys. And then the best scenes of the years were from Brutalist, and then 28 years later, and then One Battle After Another, and then finally the best scene of the year is from Sinners. So yeah, that was our list. Now, unless Avatar Fire and Ash is like unimaginably good, or Marty Supreme is, well, Marty Supreme won't release this year. I don't think our list is changing.
Yeah, I don't think it's changing too much either. I mean, of course, there are some things that I have yet to see, like, for example, the film that you opened with, the new Panai. I'm dying to watch it. There are many more on my watch list, but yeah, I strongly doubt that our top is really going to change at this point in the year now.
I mean, those two scenes are like all timers, One Battle After Another. And I mean, Sinners is definitely not losing its spot unless we get some, godlike film the next year. Yeah, so that was our top five scenes of 2025. Yeah, let us know. Please give us any feedback if you want. If you want us to make you a movie mixtape, the link is in the description. Follow us on whatever platforms you use for this podcast. Share word with your friends if you think they like us. And that was another episode of our hit list.
And until next time, see you.
Hasta la vista, baby.